Which is what if Naruto became the Tempest Dragon who saved the Uzumaki Bloodline? Naruto X Mei Part 1. Well, this is the life, Kotetsu Hagain, Chunin, who was responsible for absolutely nothing. Well, not nothing, just watching the front gate, but what ninja just walks through the front gate? My point exactly. He had spiky dark hair that split to cover the sides of his head. He wore the normal flak jacket that was issued to Konoha Chunins, and had a white bandage that ran across his nose and around his head. He was leaning against the gate like nothing could possibly happen, while his partner Izumo Kamizuki leaned on the opposite side chewing on a piece of grass, with his left eye closed. Izumo wore his forehead protector like a bandana, and his brown hair covered his right eye. Other than that, he looked like any other normal Chunin. Izumo looked out of the gate, as he was a little more responsible than his college, and saw two people walking towards the gate. As they got closer, his eyes widened as he recognized who he was seeing, as though it was only yesterday, except the girl was not recognizable. The man was about the age of 24, and he was almost a carbon copy of the current Hokage. He had spiky blonde hair, with long sideburns running down the side of his face. He had crystal blue eyes, and angular face, which was covered by a black ski mask. He wore a black flak jacket with the Uzumaki swirl on the back, and underneath was a sleeveless white shirt. His left arm was wrapped up in black bandages, and on his right hand he wore a black fingerless glove. He wore black shinobi pants, but at the bottom, he had metal greaves which then connected to his dark shinobi sandals. On his back was a large cleaver-like sword which was wrapped up in white bandages from the hilt all the way down the blade. The girl had long ankle-length, auburn hair, which was styled into a herringbone pattern at the back. On top, she had top knot tied with a dark blue band. She had 4 bangs in the front, 2 which were short and covered her right eye, and 2 long ones which crossed each other at her chest. On her left side you could see one of her bright green eyes. She wore a long blue dress that went just below her knees, and the right side was left open, showing the mesh she wore to cover up the parts her dress didn't. She also had high-heeled sandals and shin guards that reached over her knees. As the two figures approached the gate, the blonde man said, "Well, it's good to be back," to absolutely no one in particular. Izumo looked at the man and smiled at him. "Welcome back, Naruto Namikaze." At the sound of the name, Kotetsu looked up hurriedly to see the first child of the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and his wife Kushina Uzumaki, the famed Whirlpool's Red Death. His jaw dropped when he saw Naruto, and it dropped even further when he saw the girl with him. Sensing the eyes of the man on her, she turned to him and gave him a too-good-to-be-true smile. My, hasn't your mother ever told you staring is rude?" she said, in an evilly sweet tone. Naruto smirked underneath his mask. "Mei, stop messing with him, he's just shocked, that's all." "Well, Naruto, is that your girlfriend or something?" Izumo asked, getting a better look at the girl. "Damn, what is it with Namikazes and woman? First Miento gets Kushina, Naruto gets this babe, and his sister is already starting to grab my attention." Naruto just shrugged. "You could say that. But I got to get going." He took a couple more steps into Konoha and turned back to gate guards. "After all, you know how my Ka-san gets when I'm late home." Kushina Namikaze was reading a scroll on Finjutsu in the living room of the Namikaze estate. She had long Uzumaki red hair, which reached down to her ankles, and in the wind, her hair almost looked like 9 tails. She wore her normal Anbu armor, because even though she was a mother of 2, she was not going to turn into a housewife like her best friend Makoto Uchiha. However, Makoto was having trouble dealing with the Uchiha clan after the split and the massacre that took place. 5 years ago, Makoto's husband Fugaku Uchiha tried to start a coup d'état against the Hokage and take over Konoha. However, some Uchihas were very loyal and respected the leadership of the Yondaime Hokage. So the clan split, with Makoto leading one party and Fugaku the other. But before the coup could take place, Itachi Uchiha, who had sided against his father, had slaughtered that side of the Uchiha clan to stop the meaningless violence. It was a good thing too, because Fugaku's side included most of the more radical Uchihas, so in turn, the Uchiha clan could be considered more stable and less hate-driven than what they previously were. However, one from the Fugaku's group survived, and that was her younger son, Sasuke, who believed that the Uchiha were the superior clan and should rule Konoha. She hadn't heard about what he was doing, but she knew he had left his family and got an apartment somewhere, and Makoto was heartbroken. Makoto had tried to get him back saying it was for the best, but he seemed fixated on killing the man who had stopped the Uchihas from seizing their rightful role on top, Itachi Uchiha. She sighed thinking about her best friend. She was never really cut out for hard-pressed clan politics, but Itachi was helping out when he wasn't doing Anbu missions or trying to reason with his younger brother. But then she heard the doors to the estate open and she knew something wasn't right. Minato was with Jiraiya at a negotiations treaty with Kumo, and she wasn't expecting him back until later that night. Kasumi, her daughter, was at her last day of the academy, where she was taking the genin exam, and she had asked her to come pick her up after she kicks major booty. She smiled thinking about her younger daughter, who was a mini her except for her dirty blonde hair. Unlike her son, Kasumi was much more carefree than he was, but that could be traced to the fact that Naruto was pushed into the Anbu at age 8 since the war with Iwa was still raging and they needed more soldiers at that time. Yet they were very alike. Even when he was in the Anbu, Naruto would pull pranks and have good, Uzumaki, fun, which she had taken up. Brought out of her own thoughts, Kushina rose from the couch and unsheathed her katana, which she called Chen no Mizu, chain water, since it combined her high water affinity, which was usually compared to the Nindaime Hokage, and her chakra chains. It had a silver blade which was attached to a blue hilt, and on the end of the hilt was a broken chain with 3 links. It was made out of Uzumaki metal, which was chakra enhanced and known for its strength and durability. She turned the corner cautiously, but when she saw who it was she dropped her sword and pounced on the intruder. In a blur of red, Naruto had found himself on the floor, where Mei was looking at that scene which seemed very intriguing. Kushina was on top of her son hugging the living daylights out of him. "Oh my Naruto-kun, you're back," she cooed as she shook her son to the point where any normal person would have either passed out or throw up. After about 5 minutes Kushina had lightened up on the hugging and was spit-firing questions at Naruto like, "Where have you been? What have you been doing?" But then she caught attention to the third person in the room and her eyes light up as she looked at Mei, then Naruto, then back at Mei. "Naruto-kun got a girlfriend," she yelled, and treacherous hugging started again. "Ka-san, please," suffocating, Naruto gasped as all the air in his body was squeezed out by Kushina. Realizing what she was doing, she let go of Naruto, who slumped on the floor, trying to get his breath back. Kushina then turned her attention to Mei and she studied her vigorously. Nice hair, nice eyes, good bust." She turned to Naruto and gave him a cheeky smile. "It's like you looked for me when you chose her." Mei laughed slightly at this. "Well, he does say I look like his mother, but I would have taken that as an insult if I didn't see a picture of you." She then turned to Naruto, who now had passed out from lack of air, which made Mei sigh. Kushina looked at her son with a hurried expression and gripped him even tighter. "No. My Naruto-kun." But before she could put Naruto through more stress, Mei put a hand on Kushina's shoulder. "Kushina-san, I think Naruto needs to lie down and get some rest." She then gave Kushina a cheeky grin. After all, he did say he was expecting to be out cold for a couple of hours right after he entered through the front door. Kushina looked at her son's face, which was clear indication that he wouldn't be up for at least 2 hours. She then lifted her son's sleeping form and laid him on the couch, with his head resting on Kushina's lap, and Mei taking a seat next to Kushina. Mei then slouched back comfortable in the seat. "I guess an introduction is necessary. I'm Mei Terumi, Naruto-kun's fiancé." At this Kushina's eyes opened slightly at the last name. "Oh, so you're of Uzumaki blood," she said, very excitedly. It was always one of her fantasies to have Naruto find an Uzumaki girl, but since most were wiped out, that would have been very hard. However, if he found one of the branch family, like the Terumis were, that would suffice that pet peeve. Mei nodded. "Yes, I am." I know a lot about you so you can just ask some, but before she could finish Kushina began question her future daughter-in-law. Well, why is that you and Naruto hooked up? I thought the Terumis left for Kiri after the fall of Uzu. Mei nodded, we did, but you have heard of the bloodline purges happening in Kiri. In realization, Kushina understood what Mei was saying, so what happened? Mei sighed, well, 7 years ago when I was 17, Kiri shinobi attacked my clan compound which was just outside of the outskirts of Kiri. We were severely outnumbered, but we fought back. I thought I was going to die that day, but luckily, Naruto-kun was in the area and in a couple of minutes, and he had wiped out all those bloodline-hating bastards. Again Kushina was hugging her son's unconscious body. Oh, my little Naruto-kun is a hero, she squealed, and Mei couldn't help but smile at his mother's reaction. Yes, he was, and so after that he helped the rest of the bloodline clans get out of Kiri's range and organized them into the rebel bloodline faction, Mei continued. However, he couldn't stay since he was a leaf nin, and it would be considered an act of war if he did any more to help. So after he did that, he left, but I went with him to help him with some of his training and he helped me get stronger, and I guess you can figure out the rest. So what exactly did you show Naruto-kun? Kushina asked, as she was very interested in what her son had been doing on his 9-year journey through the elemental nations. Mei frowned slightly, but she still had on a warm smile, which Kushina found slightly creepy. Well, I can't tell you. Only Naruto-kun can, as he always says. But Kushina finished the sentence for her. A ninja's greatest weapon is surprise, which Mei agreed to, since it was probably the most deadly and most forgotten techniques used by ninjas these days. For the next couple of hours, Kushina and Mei had small talk on less important subjects like their hair and other girly-like things. Kushina may have been a tomboy when she was little, but she still had a female side she needed to express. It was not until Naruto woke up in his mother's lap did the mood change. Hi Ka-san, he said looking up at his mom. Kushina looked down at her son and cradled his face like a mother would do for a newborn child. Oh, my little Naruto-kun, I missed you so much, she said softly, which made Naruto blush slightly. Yeah, well, I'm back. He then looked at Mei. How long have I been out for? Mei shrugged, probably an hour or two, and I must say I really like your Ka-san. Naruto then looked around the living room. Hey, where's my Imouto? Kushina perked up slightly as she had completely forgotten about her youngest daughter. Oh shit, she said and quickly got up from the couch trying to find the time. Naruto looked at his mother inquisitively. What's wrong? He asked. Kasumi is doing her genin exam today. What's the time? Kushina said while looking for a clock. When she had found one she sighed in relief, as it wouldn't be over for another 30 minutes, so she had enough time to get to the academy. Thank Kami. We got 30 minutes. Kasumi was waiting for her turn for the ninjutsu part of the exam. Like her mom, she had taken up the tomboy look that she was famous for, except she took it to the extreme. She long orange undershirt, which had the senju symbol on the right shoulder, and over that, was a sleeveless black vest which had the red Uzumaki swirl on the back. She wore dark shinobi pants with white bandaging around her thighs and ankles and the dark blue ninja sandals. She kept her kunai pouch on her left thigh and she wore a black headband around her neck waiting to put her new Konoha blackguard on it. A little while ago, a background check was done on Kushina, her mother, and it was found out that the Nindaime Hokage had a child with an Uzumaki girl like his brother, and the child gave birth to Kushina. This then helped to explain her amazingly good water nature, and also made her, after Suon, heir to the Senju clan. She stood at 5 foot, which was slightly taller than everyone in her class except Shino, and had long reddish blonde hair, which like her mom's was very long, reaching down to her ankles. She also had her father piercing blue eyes, which if she stared at you long enough with, she found you would start shaking in fear. However, it was different than the Sasuke fangirl group who all had long hair because some rumor got out that he liked it. Personally, she thought the boy couldn't like anything. She also had 3 whisker marks on each cheek which some people thought were cute and others thought were the sign of the Kyuubi. Everyone knew she was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. It was no secret that she was, and some people, mostly civilians, thought she was in the incarnate of the fox. Still, it wasn't enough to make her into a village beak toy, because that was the minority, but they still exist. Most just didn't talk about it, and some tried to worship her. She just thought those people were stupid, and she personally thought it was better not to bring light to the subject. Next to her sat her best friend Masaki Uchiha, who was reading very quietly next to her, like any good Uchiha would. Except she was reading a more adult-humored comic book, not to the extent of the Ika Ika series, but still pretty bad. However, she kept her nose from bleeding was a wonder. Like all Uchihas, she had long black hair, reaching down to her butt, but she had a bang going down her left shoulder. Her eyes were dark and she stood about inch shorter than Kasumi. She wore a light blue Uchiha shirt, because like her friend, she would not be seen in a dress like a Sasuke fangirl. She wore short shinobi pants which were white, but she covered her legs with black wrappings, and on her left arm. Unlike her aunt, who was Makoto, she felt that Sasuke was living in the past Uchiha clan, where you had to be better than everyone else and you were the best. She didn't want anything to do with him, but she promised her aunt that she would try to get him out of his little funk. So Kasumi, Masaki asked, still looking down at her book. Doing anything after this? Kasumi shook her head. No, but I want some lunch. Yeah, this is really boring. I say we get some lunch after we get the headband and suffer from our parents' hugs and then go spare or something, Masaki said while turning the page of her comic. That's very womanly of you too, but that's what you get for acting like boys, a voice said from across the room, which made Kasumi growl. Shut it, Haruno, before I rip all that pink hair from your skull and shove it up your flat. Kasumi yelled at her. The said person was a 4'9" pink-headed civilian by the name of Sakura Haruno. She had nicely kept blinding pink hair and a voice that could break eardrums. She wore a red shinobi dress as they were called and was the definition of Sasuke fangirl. Yeah, you would say something like that, Fox, she said venomously at her. This just made Sakura's point more valid when she started growling even louder, and just like a fox, but before she could retort, Sakura was called in to do her test. God, I hate that bitch, Kasumi muttered under her breath. She never liked being called the Kyuubi, and when she was, that said person would wake up 2 days later with many bruises and missing teeth. Masaki closed her book since she knew Kasumi would rant about this and that would make her lose focus. Masaki knew full well that Kasumi had just passing chakra control in the class because of all her extra chakra. Kushina had asked her to make sure Kasumi be fully focused on the exam, and in return, she would make sure the two of them were put on the same team. Kasumi, she doesn't get it, so don't waste your time. With our luck she will die on her first genin mission and we will be rid of her. This made Kasumi grin at the thought as she thought of all the times that Sakura and her had been at each other's neck. A couple of minutes later the door to the classroom, and Kasumi was called in. Uruka-sensei, the brown-haired ponytailed sensei, was very tired and annoyed after watching so many genin do all of the jutsu. Even with all the new requirements that the Hokage had made, so many still passed. You know, Uruka, we have a lot of genin passing this year, Mizuki said as he went down the list of all the genin. Mizuki was a long white-haired chunin, who wore his headband like a bandana around his head. Uruka sighed, yeah, but I bet only half of them are going to really get anywhere as ninja. Mizuki nodded and then looked down at the next name of the list, and his smile faded just a little bit. Uruka caught notice of this as Kasumi walked into the room and sighed at his partner's ignorance. All right, Kasumi, Uruka said kindly to the little Namikaze, let's see a Henge no Jutsu transformation technique. Kasumi nodded, and 2 seconds later she appeared as Uruka, and he nodded in approval. Good, now do a Kawarimi no Jutsu body replacement. Again, she had no difficulties with this jutsu and she replaced herself with the log and back again. Uruka nodded in approval, all right, now I got this memo from your father. Mizuki frowned when he said this, because like most fox haters, they didn't believe Kasumi was the Yondaime's daughter. "Uruka, we can't show favoritism to our students," he said. Mizuki knew perfectly well that she wouldn't be able to do a normal clone technique, and he honestly did not want her to pass. Uruka frowned at his college. "You know the circumstances, so Kasumi, do a Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone jutsu, please." "How many, Uruka-sensei?" Kasumi asked. Uruka shrugged. "I guess 10 would be good," he said, and a couple seconds later, 10 more Kasumis were in the room, all of them solid. "Very good, Kasumi, you pass. Now Mizuki, give her the headband." Kasumi approached the Mizuki, and he grudgingly gave her the headband. She knew that Mizuki didn't like her, but seriously, the guy was a ninja. He should know a little fuinjutsu. Naruto, Mei and Kushina were walking towards the academy, and Naruto was getting way too much attention from the populace. First, everyone saw either Mei's giant cleavage or Naruto's giant cleaver sword, which then led them to see Naruto. Then they saw Naruto with Kushina, and for once in living memory, the civilians were able to piece together the obvious. Naruto Namikaze was back in Konoha. Many of the girls looked at him with hearts in their eyes, as not only was he good looking, but he was part of the heir to the Uzumaki clan, heir to the Namikaze clan, which was more of a merchant branch family of the Senju, who owned the majority of the businesses in Konoha, and if Suand and Kushina died, he would be the heir to also the Senju clan. Kushina had told Naruto about his relationship to the Nindaime, which he was quite excited about, but now he would have to call Suand his Oba-san instead of his more preferred term Obaa-san. She was only 10 years younger than Kushina, who was now 42 but somehow still looked 24, but she was still older than him, and it pissed her off a great deal since she too looked about 24. He had a good relationship with Suand, even though they appeared to be at each other's necks, unlike with Jiraiya, his godfather. It's not that he didn't like him, because he found the man to be real funny, but he just didn't like the fact he was so closely associated with the super pervert of the world. As they approached the academy, they could see the crowd of people that had gathered around the main doors, congratulating their kids on their success. Naruto tried to look through the crowd to see where his Imouto was, but then remembered the last time he had seen her was when she was 3. "Damn, it's sad I don't even know what my Imouto looks like," Naruto said. "You know, back in Kiri, you would have had to kill your own classmates to be made genin. I guess this seems a bit more civil," Mei said to Naruto and then turned to Kushina. "Kushina, has Nasumi even done her test yet?" Kushina shook her head. "No, she isn't done. I know for a fact that she would." But before she could say anything further, a loud boom came from the front doors of the academy, and standing in all of her glory was Kasumi. "You hear that, people?" Kasumi shouted so that everyone from Suna could faintly hear her in the wind. "I am a ninja and I am going to kick some major Nasumi." Kushina yelled at her daughter, to get both her attention and to make sure she didn't say what she was about to say in public, but of course, Kasumi had inherited the troublemaker side. "Ass," which was by far the loudest of all, even loud enough for even Orochimaru, who was underground at the time, to ask, "Who said that?" For a minute everyone thought Kushina was going to punish her daughter, but then they remembered it was what Uzumaki did, so they pushed the outburst aside and went on congratulating their kids. Kasumi turned to face her Ka-san holding up her headband, but when she saw Naruto she completely forgot about becoming a genin. "Aniki!" Kasumi screamed and ran full speed towards Naruto, but before impact Naruto stuck out his hand to stop the ongoing collision, but Kasumi was still running. "Now we shouldn't kill our siblings," Naruto said playfully to Kasumi. "Damn, she looks just like Ka-san, but her hair has part of Dad's in it," Naruto thought. "When the boys go after to her, I'm going to make them all suffer. Maybe Mei will help me." Kasumi looked into her brother's blue eyes, which were just like her own, and she kept on trying to jump into his arms. "Aniki, let me up!" she screamed, since all she wanted to do at that moment was hug her brother. But before she could make another push, Naruto had grabbed onto Kasumi and pulled her up, on his own free will, and cradled her in his arms like a baby. "Oh, look at you," he cooed as she ruffled her reddish blonde hair. "You look like a little fox." Kushina was horrified. she had forgotten to tell Naruto about Kasumi's little deal about being called it. Kasumi's eyes widened as she heard her brother say that. What did you say? She asked, hoping beyond Kami he didn't say what she thought he said. Naruto looked confused at his Imo-uto. What I just said, you looked like a fox, and he pulled down his ski mask to reveal his face. Kasumi was about to cry and yell at him saying he couldn't be her Aniki, but when she saw his face and the whisker marks on his cheeks, Kasumi forgot all about her rage. See, I got whiskers, you got whiskers. He then looked at Kushina, but Ka-san doesn't. She ain't special enough, he mused. Kushina was still worried that Naruto might get killed by Kasumi after saying that, but once she looked at Kasumi's face, which was looking intently at Naruto's cheeks, she sighed in relief. Thank Kami Naruto got those, or else he might break a rib or two. Kasumi touched one of the whisker marks on his cheek to make sure they were real, and when she felt that they were in fact whisker marks, she smiled. Yeah, I guess I do, she said and pulled her head deeper into Naruto's chest. Naruto just cradled his little sister, while Mei went to retrieve the headband, which Kasumi had dropped at the academy entrance when she saw Naruto. On her way to get it, a couple of the fathers and mothers were looking at her with both lust and jealousy. Damn, she is smoking, one guy thought while his wife behind him was wondering what she ate to get such a body. When she bent over to retrieve the headband, half the dads were blown away in spurts of blood, while the other half fell to the ground, blood running down their nose. When Mei saw this, she chuckled to herself. And I wasn't even trying, she mused as she walked by to Naruto. Hearing the presence of another person, Kasumi looked up to Mei and her first reaction went a little something like this. Aniki, that broad has my headband, she proclaimed, pointing an excusing figure at Mei. Naruto chuckled slightly while Mei mused at Kasumi's reaction. Kasumi-chan, that broad is my fiancé and your future Aneki. At this, Kasumi hand dropped unceremoniously to the ground as her brother said that this woman was his fiancé. She then turned to Naruto with that puppy-eyed look that every girl gives when they want to know something. But I'm still your favorite, right? Kasumi asked. Of course you're his favorite, Mei said, as she was very good at getting people to either love her or absolutely loathe her. Kasumi then turned to Mei with the same puppy dog eyes. Really? Mei nodded, yes, really. She then focused her attention back on Naruto. Now Naruto-kun, let me hold Kasumi-chan as I do believe it's my turn. After she said that, Kasumi squealed and turned to Naruto and whispered to him, even though it was still audibly to everyone, I like her already. As Naruto handed Kasumi to Mei, and Mei handed the headband to Naruto, he wrapped it around Kasumi's neck, whose back he was facing. I like it on your neck, Naruto stated as he looked at his fine handiwork. I'll give your first genin lesson, either have your headband around your forehead, around your neck or on your sleeve, but never have it like a headband. Kasumi then turned to Naruto and saluted playfully in Mei's arms. Don't worry Naruto-kun, I promise to never look like a kunoichi ever. Kasumi, language, Kushina said, but they all knew she didn't mean it. She just said it so the parents walking by wouldn't think that she tolerated it. Naruto just chuckled at Kasumi's response and ruffled her hair. Now that sounds like a Uzumaki to me. The Naruto and Mei were sitting with Kushina on the porch overlooking the Namikaze training ground, watching Nasumi and Masaki train. Being a rich family on the Namikaze side, they had their own estate located behind the Hokage monument. They also had an apartment in the town, since it was a long way from the estate to the main town, but since Minato could just teleport, he didn't care. However, for Kushina and Kasumi, it was annoying. Kasumi dodged an uppercut that Masaki had thrown at her, and tried to slice kick Masaki off balance from below. It was obvious that Kasumi was the stronger of the two, but damn, Masaki was nimble. She was able to just jump up and back away 3 yards away from Kasumi, landing on her hands, and then falling back into a crouching position, waiting for Kasumi's next strike. Naruto watched his sister fight and he could say he was proud. Sure, she wasn't Anbu at age 8 like he was, but Naruto had made sure that she wasn't. Naruto had always wanted for his younger sister to have a normal childhood. have fun and enjoy the better things in life. Naruto was pushed into the Anbu because he was born during the Third Shinobi War, and Konoha desperately needed shinobi. "Alright Kasumi, Masaki," Kushina called from her seat, "it's time to stop and get ready for dinner." Kasumi looked to her mother and groaned, "Okay, Ka-san. Am I eating here tonight?" Masaki asked. It was normal for her parents to come to the Namikaze estate for dinner 4 or 5 times a week, along with her aunt Makoto and her eldest son Itachi. "Yeah, so you got to wash up," Kushina yelled, "because I can smell you from here." Kasumi smirked, "But I smell so nice when I'm sweating." Kushina just shrugged at her daughter's response, "Well, it wouldn't say nice, it just smells better than the pink banshee." Like her daughter, Kushina had her arch-nemesis, which was the pinkett of the civilian council, Haruka Haruno. Like her daughter, Haruka played the role of the over-perfumed housewife, who tried to get with men for their money, reputation and looks. It also didn't help since Haruka had a biased opinion about Kasumi and Kushina, thinking that Kushina was actually the Kyuubi and Kasumi was her hellspawn. Of course that theory didn't work when she thought about Naruto, who when the last time she saw him could only say, "Damn, who's the hotshot?" Kasumi and Masaki ran inside to get ready, since they both were excited to show off their new headbands to their families. "So when's Two-san gonna be back?" Naruto asked Kushina. "Probably in a couple of minutes," Kushina said, then taking a look at her watch, "I guess I should start making dinner." Unlike most noble houses, the Namikazes did not have a million servants to cook for them. Both Kushina and Minato being ninjas, they believed that those trivial tasks should either be done by them, or their clones, and sometimes their children. Only sometimes. It builds character. Minato, the yellow flash of Konoha, the Yondaime Hokage, the only man in all of Konoha unaffected by the Ika Ika series written by his sensei, was walking back home from his negotiations with Kumo. Minato had long spiky blonde hair with 2 side bangs that ran around the sides of his face. His face was very angular, and with his striking blue eyes, that both of his kids had inherited, he seemed to just emanate power. He wore the normal Jonin attire, with the exception of his 2 black armguards and his signature white flame coat with the kanji for Yondaime Hokage on the back. Next to him was his sensei, Jiraiya the Toad Sage, one of the members of the Sannin and the infamous super pervert and writer of the Ichi Ichi series. Jiraiya was a tall man with waist-length, spiky white hair usually tied back into a ponytail, with 2 shoulder-length bands that framed both sides of his face. He also had red lines that ran down from his eyes and wore a horned forehead protector with the kanji for oil on it. For clothing he wore short green shirt kimono with matching green shinobi pants. Underneath he wore mesh armor and also wore a red cloak with 2 simple yellow circles with his toad summoning contract on the back. And following behind them was the second teammate of Minato's sensei, Tsunade Senju the Slug Princess, one of the members of the Sannin and known as the greatest med nin in the elemental countries. She had light brown eyes and waist-length straight blonde hair that was done into 2 ponytails behind her back. On her forehead she had a violet rhombus mark which was also known as the Yin seal. She wore a sleeveless kimono tied down to her waist by a broad dark bluish obi. The color of the obi matched the color of her pants and she wore high-heeled sandals. As the 3 figures walked into the Namikaze estate, they could hear voices coming from inside, which made Jiraiya smile perversely. "Oh, I wonder if Makoto and Kushina could help me with my research." Jiraiya shrieked in pain as Minato slapped the back of his sensei's head in annoyance and Tsunade went down for his jewels. "Sensei, seriously," Minato said, slightly annoyed. "You goddamn pervert, you deserve twice that, but since I'm in a good mood," Tsunade said smiling evilly, "you'll get triple." Suddenly they heard snickering from a nearby tree which made Minato look up, since Suand and Jiraiya were too busy with Jiraiya's punishment. Minato smiled at who he saw. "So how long has it been, Naruto?" Naruto smiled at his Two-san. "I think maybe 9 years, haven't been counting." Naruto was wearing his normal attire described in Chapter 1 with the exception of the cleaver sword, which no one could currently find, and the ski mask was down. Of course you haven't. Minato smirked and looked down at the two Sanins, where Jiraiya was currently being beaten into the ground in a headlock with Tsunade screaming that he was an insensitive pervert, especially when the husband of the girl he was talking about was right next to him. So you wanna watch? Naruto asked while jumping down silently from the tree. Minato shrugged, nah, let's go inside. So the two blondes walked to the Namikaze estate, leaving the two godparents to figure out that they were ditched. Minato roughed the hair on his son's head. So how've you been? Naruto, I've been good. Got a girlfriend? Fiancé? Minato's eyes perked up when he heard the answer to Naruto's question, what's her name? Mei Terumi, she's from Kiri and part Uzumaki. Does Kushina-chan like her? Yep, they've been talking non-stop. How about Kasumi-chan? I guess she does. The two of them approached the entrance to the estate and walked inside, where Naruto was immediately pounced on by Kasumi, to the amusement of Minato. "To-san, I got the headband," Kasumi screamed in Naruto's face while Minato was holding in his laughs. "Hey Imouto, To-san is over there," Naruto said. Kasumi, who got out of here blind joy, looked at Naruto and blushed in embarrassment. "Oh, sorry for calling you To-san." Naruto stood up, cradling Kasumi in his arms. Whatever, he said, ruffling her hair at the same time. Kasumi then turned to Minato. "To-san, I passed," she said, showing Minato the headband around her neck. Minato chuckled lightly at the excitement of his daughter. "Oh, I heard, and great job," he said. "Minato, Naruto, Kasumi." Kushina yelled from the kitchen, "Dinner is ready." The three of them walked into the dining room, but not without Minato giving Naruto a small pouch of money with a note saying, "Thanks for taking the hit." Sitting at the dining room table was Minato Namikaze, Isshin Uchiha, Asuka Uchiha, Kushina Namikaze, Makoto Uchiha, Kasumi Namikaze, Masaki Uchiha, Jiraiya, Suon, Naruto Namikaze, and Mei Terumi, all in that order. Makoto was like an older version of Masuki, with long black hair and the same dark eyes that all Uchihas had. She wore an Uchiha flak jacket, which was dark blue with the Uchiha fan on the back, and had her headband attached to her left shoulder. Underneath she had a long-sleeved crimson shirt and dark blue shinobi pants. Even though she was retired, she wore the basic Uchiha uniform since she was the clan head. Isshin was the father of Masaki and Makoto's brother. He had short black hair which was spiky in the back and a scar underneath his left eye. He had a genial smile on his face which was different to many other Uchihas who were mostly serious. He had his Konoha headband on his forehead and wore the basic Uchiha police outfit, which he became a head of after Fugaku died. His wife Asuka Uchiha wore her long black hair in a ponytail behind her head. She wore the normal Anbu attire, since she was on Kushina's Anbu squad, and they had grown quite close since they were on the same team and their daughters were good friends. Everyone else looked exactly the same, except for Masaki, who had tied her headband around her forehead, to keep her hair out of her eyes. Minato and Isshin were talking about new changes they were going to institute for the academy, both believing that it needed to be more difficult, but not sure how to make it more standardized. Asuka and Kushina were discussing past missions they had and new ones they could possibly be getting. Makoto was acting as the caring mother for Kasumi and Masaki, where she was helping Kasumi learn how to eat properly, because she knew that Kushina wouldn't teach such a meaningless skill, and scolding Masaki for reading those adult comics, which Jiraiya was trying to get a peek at. Tsunade was glaring at Jiraiya's antics and talking to Naruto and Mei, who she seemed to like. At first Tsunade thought that Naruto had taken up to Jiraiya's sense of woman, but quickly realized that wasn't the case. Flashback. Tsunade walked into the estate with a lumbering Jiraiya following suit, and headed into the dining room where Tsunade screamed in delight when she saw Naruto. She rushed over to where Naruto was sitting and picked him up and started hugging him with her inhuman strength, and if Naruto wasn't so used to this from his mother, probably would have died. "Oh look, my little cousin is back," she squealed. "Yeah, I am Obaa-san, but, Naruto said before Tsunade had smacked him. "I'm not your grandma, Naruto. I'm your aunt," she scolded him, before she focused her eyes on Mei, who was chuckling at the scene. Tsunade's eyes narrowed at Mei. Naruto, who is this? Oh, that's my fiancée Mei, Naruto answered. Tsunade examined the girl with a calculating look. Well, she is a ninja, but damn, she looks like a broad, Tsunade thought, as Jiraiya walked into the scene. Ah, Naruto, my boy, you got yourself a beautiful young broad, Jiraiya proclaimed and started to sniffle in pride. You've taken my advice, I see, a pervert like your old sensei. Mei looked at Jiraiya with an evil look. Oh, I would rather you not call me a broad. And she approached Jiraiya with evil eyes, or else I'll kill you. Mei then put her hand on Jiraiya's shoulder and he started to whimper in pain. Okay. Flashback end. Later that night, after Kasumi was sent to bed and the Uchihas had left to go back to their compound, Minato, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kushina, Mei and Naruto were sitting in the family room. The feeling in the air was a little more serious than it once was. Mei was leaning against Naruto on the couch with Tsunade. Jiraiya had taken up the old armchair which Kasumi had the nerve to label, the chair of the great arrow Sanin. Kushina and Miento were on the opposite corner couch. So Naruto, Minato asked, how is that Seishingen soul eye of yours going? Naruto looked at his father, but his blue eyes had changed to match that of a 3-tomo Sharingan, except his was blue. The next second it changed, so it changed into a 3-pronged bladed shuriken with 3 circles in between the edges. It's been good. It appeared after Naruto was born that the Uzumaki, when turned into Jinchuriki, developed a Kekkei Genkei which could suppress the Yuki of the Biju. Kushina had developed her chakra chains, which were deadly as they could easily hold the Kyuubi down when Kushina was at full strength and absorb the Yuki and transfer it as chakra to Kushina. When Naruto was younger they had seen 1 tomo in his eye, they had concluded that something was going on. They knew Naruto had inherited the fast healing and resistance of the Kyuubi, being born from a Jinchuriki, but he had also somehow developed a way to suppress the Kyuubi's Yuki. Naruto had said the night that he had unlocked the eye, he met someone in his mindscape, who he couldn't hear the name of, who had explained what he could do with the eye. It allowed Naruto to attack the soul of a person using either mental attacks or physical attacks, and since Bijus possessed an incomplete soul, those attacks were deadly. Naruto then held out his hand and to everyone's shocked expression except Mei, the same clever like sword appeared into his hand. Whoa, that's one big sword, Kushina commented, as it made hers look like a kunai. Damn, that clever is as big as Tsunade's cleavage, Jiraiya commented, which had earned him a growl from the said woman. So what can it do? Minato asked, intrigued by the sword. Naruto shrugged, you know my deal, I don't tell, you find out. Kushina turned to Mei, was he like that when he met you? Mei smiled, not just when I met him, every day I was with him he wouldn't explain what he did unless he wanted to teach me. Naruto looked sheepishly at Mei, well, I'm sorry for being a good ninja. Alright, since you won't tell us what you can do, Minato said, as he knew that Naruto was very serious about keeping his secrets. Secret, will you learn my Rasengan and Flying Thunder God Jutsu? The last time Minato had offered to teach Naruto this was when he was 10, but he had declined, saying that before he would learn his signature moves, he would create his own signature attack and his own space-time travel technique. Naruto nodded, yes I will, I have come up with my own space-time ninjutsu. Minato then took out 2 scrolls and threw them at Naruto, who caught them with ease. Alright then, but there is a price. You got to teach the Rasengan to Kasumi after her first C-rank mission. Kushina then looked at her husband, Minato-kun, shouldn't Kasumi come up with her own technique like Naruto? I don't think she can, Naruto said, which got a questioning glare from Mei, who thought Naruto would ever say something ill about his sister. As long as she has the Kyuubi inside of her, it will be hard for her to really concentrate and make her own technique. Naruto-kun, I don't think you're being fair, Tsunade began, but Jiraiya butted in. I must agree with Naruto on this one. Like Kushina when she had the 9 tails, Kasumi has a hard time learning boring things, and creating something like the Rasengan would take her 10 times as long as any normal person, Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded, it's not like I don't think Kasumi isn't smart enough to do it, I'm just saying she lacks the concentration. Then Naruto turned to Kushina. I mean, for the first 12 years you were my mother. You could barely sit down without moving, and now you're able to sit perfectly still. Kushina blushed slightly, and no one could disagree with Naruto with that. Well, on to another subject, Jiraiya said, taking the scroll and trying to act epic when he opened it. Time for you to sign the Toad contract. I got a summons already, Naruto said bluntly, which made Jiraiya fall down anime style, and Minato looked inquisitively at his son. Naruto, toads are one of the strongest summons. There must be a reason why you felt the one you chose the one you did. Naruto nodded. Well, as you know, there are various types of summons, and then Naruto started undoing the black wrappings on his left arm. You have small summons like pigeons, which are fairly weak but very useful for gathering information. Then there are regular summons which are versatile for both combat and information. Large summons which are great at fighting, not so at being sneaky. Then there are summons that you, Suand, and Orochimaru have, which are known as legendary summons. When Naruto finished unwrapping the black bandages on his arm, Jiraiya turned stock white at what he saw, while the others looked at it very curiously. On Naruto's arm was a black dragon that went from his elbow down to his wrist, with the dragon's tail circling his upper arm. The head was on his hand, with its mouth closed, but something gave the impression that it could be opened. Then there is mine. How did you get that? Jiraiya asked, flabbergasted, while Minato looked at him oddly. What do you mean, what's so special about that summon? Minato asked. I signed the dragon contract, and the reason why Jiraiya is so shocked to see someone have it, is because no one has ever been able to sign the contract before. Naruto then started re-wrapping his arm. The other 5,000 suitors all died. You risked your life for a summons. Kushina yelled at her son. Naruto shrugged. Yep, that part of it made the experience fun. Kushina slapped her head in Naruto's recklessness, but wasn't going to say anything, because she knew she would have probably done the same when she was his age. Well, then that explains your bingo book listing, Tsunade said, causing everyone to look at her, even Naruto. I'm in the bingo book. Naruto said sheepishly. Suand looked at everyone in surprise. Don't tell me you guys haven't been looking at it. Well, I got cage stuff, Minato said sheepishly. I got a daughter and Anbu work, Kushina said, slightly embarrassed. I don't check, Naruto said. And I have my research, Jiraiya finished. Tsunade slapped her head in annoyance. Well, then take a look. At first I was surprised to see the listing, but then I figured he was just like his dad. Tsunade then took out a green book with the title Self-Updating Bingo Book and laid it on the table. Alright, now all we have to do is look you up, Suand said, and a couple of seconds later Naruto's page came up, which was right next to his father's. Naruto Namikaze, also known as the Tempest Dragon or the Cleaver SS class. Run on word of mouth. Reward 100 million Ryo, dead. Naruto eyes perked up when he saw his name. Well, I'm doing well, which everyone in the room nodded to. Oh, my little baby is a SS class ninja, Kushina said, letting a lone tear escape her eyes. I'm so proud. Good job, son. One day you'll get to 120 just like you too, San, Minato said, grinning at Naruto. I'm sorry, am I missing something here? Tsunade asked. Your son is worth 100 million Ryo. I know this calls for celebration, Kushina cheered. Tsunade just slapped her head. Forget it. Then she turned to Mei. Now let's see your listing. And a second later, they had found Mei's listing. Mei Terumi S class. Run on site. Reward 75 million Ryo. Mei pouted. Ah, I thought I was higher, and Naruto patted her back. You'll get there, he said, trying to make her happy again, because the one time he had seen her mad was a bad time. And it took a lot to make her mad, but when she was, no one was safe. So, Naruto's finance is skilled, Jiraiya commented as he looked at the bounty. This is interesting. Kushina looked at Mei, with a little more interest this time. Do you mind me asking what you can do? Mei smiled at Kushina. Well, unlike Naruto, I can share as I'm quite proud of what I can do. Mei, I don't think you should. After all, a ninja always nay. But Naruto was cut off when she had covered his mouth with her hand. As I was saying, Mei began while Naruto had stopped talking, knowing that Mei was getting her way, like she always did. Aside from my inherited Uzumaki endurance, Charka reserves and Finjutsu potency, I inherited 2 Kekkei Genkais. Everyone's eyes widened. 2 Kekkei Genkais? Jiraiya asked, again flabbergasted. Yes, I can do both the Yoden lava release and Futon boil release, Mei said. That's quite impressive, and from looking at your bingo book record, I can guess you are very skillful with them, Minato said, which Mei nodded too. Yes, I'm not much of a genjutsu user or kenjutsu, although Naruto-kun is teaching me. I am much more of a ninjutsu user, varying from all ranges. Kushina's eyes perked up. I thought ninjutsu users were more long-range mid-range fighters and have a good deal of knowledge in fuinjutsu. Mei smiled at her mother-in-law. Have you ever tried to touch lava? After hearing that, no one doubted that Mei was defiantly going to be touched, because not only did she possess the immense amount of charka to use those moves, she had the skill. Well then, are you interested of joining Konoha? Minato asked, hoping that he might be able to add her to his ranks, since he was a Kage after all, and she was defiantly powerful. Mei smiled at Minato. Well, I thought that was made clear when I came with Naruto, but I do hope that I'm not made a genin. Nonsense, Kushina said. Well, put you on my Anbu team with me and Asushika. Kushina-chan, you didn't ask, Miento began, but one look from Kushina made him shut up. Well, do you accept? Kushina asked. Mei nodded. Well, it's better than being genin. Speaking of positions, Jiraiya turned to Minato. I don't think we told Naruto where he is needed. Oh, I figured that out a while ago, Naruto said, smiling deviously at his godparent, and I will take the role as Kasumi Jonin sensei. Now wait just a minute. Tsunade said, looking directly at Minato. Minato, you can't be serious about letting Naruto being a Jonin. He has a 100 million bounty on his head. Minato just shrugged. So, that means my daughter will be extra safe. Suan, however, wasn't going to lose this one. She knew Naruto would make a good sensei for Kasumi, but he was way too powerful and that would put the genin he led at risk. Minato, I'm not denying Naruto's skill, but people will go after him. 100 million is a lot of money. Actually, Tsunade, I think it's better that we do put 2 highly prized people together, Jiraiya said. Kasumi is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, strongest of the Biju. She alone commands a lot of power just by having that thing inside of her. Not to mention that she is also part of the Senju, Namikaze and Uzumaki clans. And besides, Mei said, with Naruto's Kekkei Genkei, he can control the Yuki if Kasumi goes out of control, and maybe she can unlock the Shishingan. Minato looked at Mei. How do you know Kasumi has it? Her eyes are the same as Naruto-kun's, the same blue. You may share the same eye color with both Naruto-kun and Kasumi-chan, but I could almost see the Tomo when I picked Kasumi up when she saw Naruto-kun. This surprised Naruto. I didn't notice, all I was looking at was her hair. Mei smiled at her fiancé. Well, you were always a sucker for long hair, she commented. Well, that just adds to the reason why Naruto should be her sensei, Kushina said, causing Suan to sigh. Alright, I give. Tsunade then turned murderously at Naruto, but if I find out that she dies while you're with her, I swear to Kami, you will pay. Naruto wasn't fazed by this at all. That ain't happening. Naruto was walking Kasumi to her first day as a genin to the academy. Naruto had added the Senju symbol to his right shoulder, since now, he was in fact a Senju. He still wore his black flak jacket, which really stood out from the regular green Jonin one. His ski mask was down and, to just make people stare, he had his cleaver sword attached to his back. Kasumi was jumping up and down as she walked alongside Naruto heading to the academy. She wore sleeveless red Uzumaki shirt with an orange swirl on the back. She wore a black band around her right arm, with the Senju symbol on it, and around her neck she had her forehead protector, tied with a blood-red headband. She also had very short black shinobi pants which were skin-tight and tied down at the knees with white bandages. Mei had gotten her a pair of arm and leg guards, which were covered up by black cloth on the arms. Hey Aniki, Kasumi asked Naruto. Naruto looked at his little sister and smiled. What is it? Do you know who's going to be on my first genin team? Naruto shrugged, since he wasn't sure who would be on her and his genin team. He suspected maybe Masaki, but other than that, he didn't know. However, he did hear that this year's genin had a large amount of clan heirs, which included the Nara, Hyuga, Yamanaka, Aburame, Akamike and Inuzuka, not to mention 2 Uchihas and Kasumi. I can't say I do. Kasumi pouted slightly, but I know Two-san would tell you. Naruto just ruffled his little sister's hair. Kasumi, the teams are still being discussed but for now it's a secret. Kasumi grinned at her brother. Secrets are no fun unless you tell everyone, she rhymed. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I don't like secrets. When the two of them reached the academy, Naruto was quick to examine all of the genin arriving for the briefing. Kasumi had run over to her friend Masaki, who looked exactly the same as yesterday, and was with her mother. From the genin that were entering, Naruto could already tell that only 25% of them would get through the genin exam. Naruto himself knew that the academy only taught the bare minimum, and to really pass as a genin, you had to train outside of the academy. By activating his Shishingan, which like a naturally born Sharingan used almost no chakra, he was able to see the amount reserves that the genin had. Almost all had almost no chakra reserves, but enough to get through the 3 basic jutsus without feeling too tired. He noticed that both Kasumi and Masaki had way over the average, which was very common for clan genins, as they trained at very early age and relentlessly. Naruto sighed, as when he was their age, most genins were hardened veterans by their 10th mission. It seems that peace brings a false sense of security, Naruto thought to himself. At the council chambers, Minato sat at the head of the long table that took up most of the space. He was flanked by Tsunade, who took charge as the Senju clan head, and Makoto, who was the Uchiha clan head. It wasn't that they were better than any of the other clans, it was just that both the Uchiha and the Senju were the founding clans of Konoha, and thus, they sat next to the Hokage. Next to Tsunade was Kushina, who wore her Uzumaki flak jacket, with the Senju symbol on the right shoulder. Next to Kushina was Asuma Sarutobi, who after his father's death became the new clan head. Asuma had short spiky black hair and beard, which went well with his usually lit cigarette, as both he and his father were known to like smoking. He wore the regular Jonin attire, and although he was going to be a Jonin sensei, he was still going to run the clan as normal. He also had a white sash tied to his waist with the kanji for fire on it, symbolizing his status as a member of the 12 Guardian Ninja. Next to Asuma was Shikaku Nara, who was most defiantly the most analytical and ingenious out of anyone on the council. He had dark hair tied into a ponytail behind his head and sported a goatee. On the right side of his face he had 2 scars as well as pierced ears. He wore the normal Jonin attire, and was infamously known for his downright laziness. Next to Shikaku, was one of his partners and clan heads, Choza Akamichi. Choza is a rather large man with long red hair and markings on his cheeks, which is a common trait for those in the Akamichi clan. He also wears a samurai life outfit, over a black suit, which is then complete with armor with the kanji for food on it. He also wears a rope belt, hand guards, and a piece of cloth around his head, which replaced his forehead protector. On the other side of the table next to Makoto, was Hiyashi Hyuga. He had long black hair and featureless white eyes of the Hyuga clan. He wore a traditional white robes and a dark cloak over his shoulders. Next to Hiyashi was Shibi Aburame. Shibi wore a high-collared gray outfit, and on his back, he carries a gourd, most likely filled with insects. He also wore dark glasses to hide his eyes, and had spiky short black hair. Next to Shibi Aburame was Inoichi Yamanaka. Inoichi has long blonde hair tied behind his head in a ponytail, but in the front is very spiky. He wore the traditional Jonin attire, except for the red coat he wears over it. After Inoichi was Sume Inuzuka. She had very animalistic features, including her spiky brown hair and her vertical slit pupils. Underneath her eyes she had red fang markings, symbolizing her belonging to the Inuzuka clan. She wore the standard Konoha Jonin attire. Next to Sum was Murakumo Kurama. He had dark brown hair that went behind his head, and reached his shoulders, and also had a short brown mustache. He wore gray robes, and on the back was the Kurama clan symbol. On the other end of the table sat the civilian council, which only had 5 members not including the 2 village elders, Homura Mitokado and Kaharu Udantane. "All right then," Minato said as he went through all of his genin registrations. "Now that we got through those teams, it's now time for the discussion for Team 11 inches. Who exactly will be heading the new Team 11, as I was only aware of us having 10 Jonin sensei?" Asuma asked, as he was aware of there only being 10 Jonin, including himself. "My son, Naruto will be," Minato announced, which got a couple of gasps from the civilian council, as the shinobi were already informed of his arrival. Kaharu looked at Minato with calculating eyes, trying to figure out what he was thinking. "Hokage-sama," Kaharu said, "why would you waste his talents as a Jonin instructor? He would be much better used in the Anbu, as we all know his skills rival yours, or by now surpass them." Minato just smiled at her, even though he absolutely loathed the old woman. "Well, Naruto asked me if he could. It's not his decision to make, Hokage-sama," Kaharu said, as she did not like hearing that someone younger than her could ask the Hokage to do something, while she just watched him do his thing. Kushina glared at the old council member, as she did not like her, and unlike her husband, she would show it. "I think it's fine if he does." "And may I ask who would be his genin?" Homura asked. "I decided that I would put my daughter Kasumi and Masaki Uchiha on his team." As for but before Minato could finish, the council erupted into a yelling contest, or let's say, the civilians, Hiyashi, and the 2 elders. "Hokage-sama, you are showing favoritism to your youngest daughter," yelled one Haruka Haruno, who would rather have her daughter be on his team than on Kakashi's, since Naruto was clearly a better ninja. And also, Kakashi was known to be very hard during the evaluation exam, where no one has currently been able to pass. Hiyashi just glared at the Hokage. His eldest daughter, who he honestly didn't really care about, was in this year's genin, and maybe if Naruto was her sensei, she would be stronger. Minato just sighed, since he knew that this would most likely happen. "Will you people shut up?" Minato said in a dangerous low tone, which everyone could easily hear. He then went back to his normal smile as like nothing happened. "You see, it is necessary for Naruto to be on Kasumi's team since she needs someone who has the ability to subdue a Biju." "Well, Hokage-sama," Homura said, "we'll just have that Anbu Tenzo do it, as he does Posse the Wood Release, and put Naruto in the Anbu." "While that does work, Naruto did ask to be her sensei," Kushina said. Kaharu just glared at the Uzumaki clan head. "He doesn't ask to do something, he does what he told Kushina-san." Kushina just glared back with as much intensity as Kaharu. "I'll tell you something, Kaharu-san. Like me, Naruto-kun doesn't take too kindly to being told to do something. It's not his place, he does what he is told and that's that," Kaharu retorted. "Do you want to fight him to decide what he does?" Tsunade butted in, as she was getting annoyed with this meeting since they started talking about Team 1. Kaharu just glared at the Senju, but remained quiet, since she knew she wouldn't be able to beat him. Minato, grateful that she had finally stopped complaining, said, "All right then, now for the 3rd member, I have taken one of Danzo's old root members and put her on the team as well." About 7 years ago, Minato had done a major investigation on Danzo, because he did not like having the old war hawk in his council. Through his investigation, his Anbu, which included Kushina, found his underground root base. After discovering the root, Minato had Danzo arrested and he studied what Danzo was doing down there. He had found many children, most likely orphans from the 3rd Shinobi War, being trained as emotionless weapons because of their Kekkei Genkais or other traits. After he found this, Minato had to start sending the subjected kids through a training course to regain those emotions, which took them until they were around 9 to 12. Those same kids then could choose whether to use the skills that Danzo had taught them, since by age 6 they had already reached Chunin level, or to go into normal civilian life. All of them chose to become shinobi. They were then integrated into genin squads when they reached age 12, where they would start a normal life. Now who would be the chosen member? Kaharu asked, as she was in favor of Danzo's route. That would be Ayaka, Minato said, which made everyone in the council look at him. Hokage-sama, out of all the ex-route members, she has changed the least, Sume said. Wouldn't it be better to put her on another squad, or keep her back a year? Makoto asked. Minato shook his head. We all know that Ayaka is by far the most skilled out of that group, even if she lacks emotion. However, she does posse some, and over time she will gain them back. I must agree with the Hokage on this one, Shikaku said, which caught the attention of everyone on the council, since Shikaku is almost always right. We shouldn't stunt her growth as a shinobi just for the lack of emotion that others posse. We know she isn't normal like all of us, but she does posse enough where she can still maintain her humanity. And by being around others, she will most likely develop other emotions, most of them good. That if we want her to get her emotions back, as it is always better for a ninja to not have any, Hiyashi said, which got a glare from Minato, as he was not a fan of the whole cage bird thing that Hiyashi supported. Very well, Hokage-sama, Homura said, if that is going to be your decision, then I guess we have little more to talk about. Agreed, council dismissed. Naruto was walking towards the Hokage Tower to get the names of his genin team. He could have easily sunshined or use his space-time ninjutsu to teleport there, but he just wanted to walk. After just teleporting places, you get a nice feeling from just walking. As he walked, he noticed a very familiar white-haired Jonin, who like him, was just enjoying the good weather outside. Naruto swiftly made his way over to him, and started walking next to the said Jonin. The white-haired Jonin was reading an Ika book, and seemed to be highly embarrassed in its contents. So Kakashi, still reading that smut I see, Naruto said, getting the attention of the white-haired Jonin. Kakashi looked up from his book and saw Naruto walking next to him. Kakashi wore a ski mask over his face, and his headband was slung over his left eye so you couldn't see what was underneath it. Other than that, he wore the normal Jonin outfit. Well, look who we have here, Kakashi mused. Naruto smirked at Kakashi's comment. Yes, look, we have one totally bad ninja and a porn addict like yourself. Not taking the comment to his liking, Kakashi used his most signature move, did you say something? However, Naruto was ready for this, as unlike Guy, he learned from his past mistakes, must be the wind. Kakashi groaned, but remained silent, as he would not embarrass himself any further. So Kakashi, going to get your genin squad list? Naruto asked. Why yes, but I saw a black cat so I had to go the long way to the Hokage Tower, Kakashi said, putting on his most innocent smile. Naruto grinned, I had the same problem. You see, I was just enjoying a nice walk when I lost track of the time. So, I'm guessing you're a Jonin sensei now, aren't you? Kakashi asked, which Naruto nodded too. Kakashi in turn sighed. Ah well, it would have been nice to teach your little sister like I did with you, but you can't get everything you want. The two of them just walked casually to the Hokage office, and entered, where they both looked at the face of a very annoyed Minato. Heitu-san, sorry I'm late, but you see me and Kakashi were just talking when we remembered we had to come here, Naruto explained, which made Minato sigh, as Naruto could either be always punctual, or he could be as lazy and late as Kakashi. It's okay Naruto, by enough of that, Minato said, as he took out two folders, one with the number 7 and the other with the number 11 on it. Kakashi took the folder titled 7 and went through his contents in a matter of seconds. Alright, I get one Sakura Haruno, one Sasuke Uchiha and one Sai, Kakashi mused as he went through the file. Naruto in turn took the folder with Team 11 on it and went through its contents. Well, I get Kasumi Namikaze, Masaki Uchiha, and Ayaka. Naruto then looked at his father, you gave me 3 girls. At this Kakashi looked at Naruto's file and gave him one of his signature smiles, well, aren't you the lucky one, which made Naruto grimace, as he knew that what Kakashi was implying, and he didn't like it one bit. Minato grinned slightly, yes, well on to a different matter, and his face suddenly became serious, which Kakashi took notice and stopped messing around with his porno book. You both have X root on your teams. Kakashi, I gave you Sai, who has almost completely regained emotion. Miento then turned to Naruto, however, I gave you one that only just started to get back her feelings. Her skills are very high, but I need you to get her to open up. At this Naruto nodded, I will too San. Minato smiled at his son, yes well there is a small thing I forgot to mention, but before he could mention that small thing, two people entered the room. The first was a light-skinned boy with short dark hair, and a very weird smile on his face. He wore a black long-sleeved shirt which only covered everything above his abs and wore dark fingerless gloves. He also had normal dark shinobi pants and on his back he had a backpack and a katana strapped to it. The other person was a girl with long blue hair tied behind her head in a ponytail. She wore a high-colored black shirt that was opened up so you could see her face and the ski mask which was currently off. However, the shirt did not cover her midsection, which was instead covered by mesh armor. On her right arm, she had a black sleeve that reached up to her elbow, which was wrapped in white bandages, and then continued to her wrist. On the other arm, she had a long gray sleeve with a blue stripe that ran down the side. She wore short skin-tight pants that only reached above her knees, and the rest of the legs were covered by more mesh, until it got down to the dark greaves she wore. She had a katana strapped to her back, and on her right side, she had a shorter one strapped. Kakashi the boy is Sai, so please bring him to the academy where he can meet up with his two other teammates, Minato said. Kakashi nodded, and a few seconds later, he and Sai left the room. Ayaka, this is going to be your sensei Naruto Namikaze, Minato said, and before anyone could react, Ayaka was on her knees bowing down to Naruto like he was a god. Minato just sighed while Naruto didn't know what to think of the situation. It is an honor to serve under you Naruto-sama, Ayaka said, in an almost emotionless tone. To-san, what was that small thing you mentioned earlier? Ah yes that, Minato then looked worryingly at Ayaka. Ayaka-chan, please may you wait outside so that Naruto-kun and I could have couple of words before he takes you to meet you Genin team. Ayaka stood up and bowed slightly to both Minato and Naruto. Yes Hokage-sama, Naruto-sama, I will wait outside for you, and a couple seconds later, she stepped out of the room. Naruto, Ayaka was once part of Danzo's root division, which I don't believe you were ever told about, Minato said. Naruto was very confused by the whole thing. You said regained emotion, are you telling me that Danzo had somehow made them lose it? Minato nodded, yes, he took orphans with potential and tried to bring them up as emotionless weapons, until Kushina and I found out and put a stop to it. Naruto at hearing this gritted his teeth in anger, as he didn't like it when kids were forcibly put through training to become nothing more than tools, whereas Danzo. I need to show him a piece of my mind. He is locked away Naruto, but the thing I must tell you is that, each one of these X-Root members followed in your footsteps, and to them, you are like Kami. Naruto now was totally lost. What do you mean that I'm like Kami to them? Well you see, Minato began, from what we can gather, Danzo had used you, the age 8 Anbu, now on par with the Hokage as the role model for all root members, where by age 7, you were already a skilled killer. Now we have been able to break this trend in almost all of them, but Ayaka still remains completely fixed on you. Minato then grinned slightly, it's like having a completely obsessed fangirl. More like slave, Naruto said coldly, I'm going to have to break that trend. Just don't break her Naruto, Minato said seriously, just show her that she can act like a kid sometimes. It's a shame she was forced to grow up too fast. Naruto nodded, considered it done to-san. Minato smiled, alright Naruto, you are dismissed. Naruto walked out of the Hokage office and headed towards the academy with a following Ayaka. At first, Naruto thought that maybe Ayaka had learned that she shouldn't think he was all that, but he was quickly proven wrong. So Ayaka-chan, what do you like to do? Naruto asked. Ayaka at hearing her name being used in such a way, blushed slightly, which then disappeared almost instantaneously. I don't really like much Naruto-sama, only what you tell me too, she said like a soldier at attention. Naruto sighed, Ayaka-chan, call me Naruto-sensei, Naruto-sama makes me sound old. Naruto then continued walking, but then realized that Ayaka wasn't behind him and looked back, where of course, she was on the ground bowing to him, again. I'm sorry Naruto-sensei, it will not happen again. Naruto sighed, Ayaka-chan, you don't have to bow all the time, now common, we are already late to the academy. And again, Ayaka bowed to Naruto, yes Naruto-sensei, I am sorry for causing so much trouble. Naruto in turn just smacked his head and continued walking, and Ayaka quickly went right back to his side. This is going to be rough, Naruto thought to himself, as he and Ayaka neared the academy. Kasumi was jumping off the walls of the academy in pure frustration. When she heard that Naruto was going to be her sensei and Masuki was going on her team, she was quite excited. But 2 hours later, and Naruto still hadn't shown up, and she was getting very mad. Even the infamous Kakashi, known for his tardiness, was here before him. Damn, where is Aniki? Kasumi mumbled while Masaki sighed. Masaki had brought along her reading material, but she was now out, because she didn't expect that their sensei was going to be this late, so she didn't bring that much. Wherever he is, he better have a good excuse or at least something cool to give us, Masaki said, since she too was getting annoyed. The door opened to the classroom, and Naruto stepped in being followed by a blue-haired girl. Hey there Imouto, Masaki-chan, Naruto waved, as he looked at the classroom, damn I'm late. Kasumi was about to say, yeah you are, but the blue-haired girl spoke first. I am sorry Naruto-sama for making us late, she said, which got 2 questioning looks from Masaki and Kasumi. Naruto groaned, Ayaka-chan it's sensei, not sama, and you better not tell me you're sorry for that too. As of now Naruto's patience was wearing thin, as the girl was more than just a fangirl. It wasn't like she was fawning over how he looked, she literally thought everything about him was the right thing. Ayaka just looked down in shame, as she could not apologize to Naruto without disobeying him. Aniki, who's that? Kasumi asked pointing at Ayaka. Naruto looked at Kasumi and smiled, oh this is our third teammate, Ayaka-chan, I would like you to meet my Imouto Kasumi Namikaze and Masuki Uchiha. Ayaka looked at Masaki, but then she switched all of her attention to Kasumi and Kasumi was getting a strange feeling from the look that Ayaka was giving her. It is nice to meet you Masaki-san, Kasumi-senpai. It is but before Ayaka could finish what she was saying Kasumi spoke up. I ain't no senpai, call me Kasumi-chan or something, Kasumi said, and Naruto was sighing in his head. Of course Ayaka would act like Kasumi was her better, since she was his sister. I am sorry Kasumi-chan, I meant no disrespect, Ayaka said. Kasumi looked at her brother, and Naruto gave her that, well talk later look, and she sighed. Well it's nice to meet you Ayaka-chan, Kasumi said. Well with that out of the way, Naruto said, taking a seat on top of one of the desks, let's begin shall we? The 3 girls then crowded around Naruto, sitting on the ground waiting to hear what he was going to say. Now my name is Naruto Namikaze, and for the purposes of being formal, you'll call me Naruto-sensei during missions and training, but outside you can call me Naruto-kun. After the 3 girls nodded, he continued, now, I would like each of you to give each other your name, age, and anything else you want to mention. Naruto-sensei, Masaki asked, could you show us how it is done? Naruto smiled at her, well I guess I can. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Senju Namikaze and I 24 years old. I have a fiancé, who you guys will meet soon, and I like ramen. Naruto then grinned wickedly, everything else is a SS rank secret. Okay, my name is Kasumi Uzumaki Senju Namikaze and I'm 12, but I'm only a month away from turning 13. Like my Aniki I like ramen and doing things considered to be unladylike. I hate preppy little fangirls and enjoy showing people up or pranking. My name is Masaki Uchiha, and I'm 12. I like reading and hanging with my friend. I don't like loud noises and especially people who screech or just have to yell everything they say. I am Ayaka and I'm 12. I don't know what I like, or what I don't. As for what I like to do, I don't know, I guess being a shinobi. Naruto nodded, alright then, now on to the main point. Naruto then pointed to all three of the genin, you three are a squad, a unit. You're like one person, and you never leave yourself behind, don't forget that. All three of the girls looked puzzled at what Naruto said, which made him snicker. Now tomorrow, we will be having our own little genin test, where I decide whether you pass or fail. Wait, Naruto-sensei, we already had our genin test, Kasumi said, and Naruto just grinned wider. Oh I know, but you need to pass this one, and it's all or nothing, Naruto said. Can you tell us what the test is? Masaki asked, as she didn't want to fail after one day of becoming a genin. Naruto smiled evilly at the three of them. No I can't, so tomorrow meet at training ground 11 at 6 am. Dismissed, and in a second Naruto disappeared in a swirl of leaves leaving the three genin awestruck. Ayaka, Kasumi and Masaki were waiting for Naruto to arrive to their genin test. Both Masaki and Ayaka were right on time 6 am, so they waited for both Kasumi and Naruto. But when Kasumi got there, she said Naruto wasn't at home and that she thought that he left without her, which got a groan from Masaki, while Ayaka just said he was probably doing something important. So the three genin waited for their sensei to arrive, Kasumi becoming more irritated every second, Masaki, who was just starting to get annoyed since she did bring a couple of books with her, but they didn't last. The only one of the lot who hadn't changed was Ayaka, who had said that maybe a ninja should be late, as it was clear to her at least, that maybe ninja had to be late. It was now 10 am, when Naruto finally decided to show up. Both Kasumi and Masaki glared daggers at Naruto, who only chuckled while Ayaka greeted him as though he did nothing wrong. Good morning Naruto-sensei, Ayaka said. Where the hell have you been? Kasumi asked, very irritated. Yeah, we have been waiting for 4 hours, Masaki said. Ayaka turned to her two teammates. I think Naruto-sensei was doing something very important, and we should respect his tardiness. Right Naruto-sensei. Both Kasumi and Masaki had their mouths opened at Ayaka's comment, even though they knew she was completely memorized by Naruto, they didn't expect her to support him even if he was 4 hours late. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and gave the three of them a sheepish smile. No, I was actually having breakfast. Masaki smacked her head in annoyance while Kasumi glared at her brother. You see I was right, Ayaka said. He was doing something but she was cut off by Kasumi, who was getting annoyed with both Naruto's attitude and Ayaka's loyal attitude towards him. Ayaka, this is obviously some kind of joke that he is pulling on us, so stop acting like he has done nothing wrong and yell at him or something. Ayaka glared at Kasumi. Kasumi, I understand Naruto-sensei is your brother, but you must show him the proper amount of respect. After all he is I don't care what he is, he shouldn't be late. Kasumi screamed at Ayaka, who just glared back at Kasumi. Masaki turned to Naruto, this time with calculating eyes. Was this a test or something? She asked. Naruto grinned at the Uchiha. Why yes it was. It was a test to see how loyal you were to a mission, he said. Both Kasumi and Ayaka stopped their bickering and listened to Naruto. What do you mean a test? Kasumi asked, while Ayaka was trying to understand Naruto's actions, since even though she thought he was perfect, she found it a little strange he would be 4 hours late. Naruto smiled at the three genin. Well, you see, when you're a ninja, you sometimes get missions that are boring or trivial, but you still must do them. This was testing your willingness not to abandon a mission, since even though I made you wait for so long, none of you left, which showed your dedication to being a ninja. You would be surprised how many genin just leave after the first hour. Masaki nodded in understanding. Well, that kind of makes sense. Kasumi turned to her best friend, Masaki. He made us wait for 4 hours. I'm not buying this test bull. Naruto-sensei is indeed a genius, Ayaka proclaimed, since it all made sense to her why Naruto had done what he had done, which just reinforced her solid belief that Naruto could do no wrong. Kasumi just smacked her head in annoyance. God damn it, she muttered. Team 11 made their way into the training ground, which was a forested area next to a small pond. The forested area had a small clearing in the center, where the three genin expected where they would have their test. Alright team, now it's time for the test, Naruto said and took out 2 bells from his back pouch. All 3 of the genin were looking at the bells inquisitively, which made Naruto chuckle. Naruto-sensei, Kasumi asked, why do you have bells? I was getting to that, Kasumi-chan. You see, the test is very simple. By the end of the hour, you must obtain one of these bells from me, Naruto said. Sensei. There are only 2 bells. Masaki said. Naruto nodded, that is correct because in this test, only 2 of you can pass. At this all 3 genins' mouths dropped, what, you can't be serious? Kasumi complained. Naruto nodded, oh, am I very serious, Kasumi-chan. Now you are to go all out on me to get them, with the intent to kill. Kasumi gulped, as she did overhear what Jiraiya saying that Naruto was probably stronger than either he or Minato, and that anyone who tried to fight him deserved to be pitied. Naruto then gave all 3 of the genin an evil smile. Alright then, test starts, now. Immediately after he said now, the 3 genin disappeared into the woods, which made Naruto chuckle. Oh, it looks like I'll just have to wait, he said, and started the clock. Let's see if they can figure the test out. Ayaka was watching Naruto with narrowed eyes as she observed all of his movements. He was relaxed, not worried that he just told 3 genin to try and kill him. What is Naruto-sensei thinking? Ayaka asked herself, as she continued to observe him. There must be something to this, as Danzo told us that tests we were given were always less based on skill and more based on figuring out the meaning. She watched as Naruto leaned back against one of the trees and started whistling to himself, which made Ayaka frown slightly. He is not taking us seriously, does he think we are not worthy? She thought to herself. No, I am worthy of his attention, I will show him. Ayaka thought to herself and drew out both of her swords, holding the longer one in her right and the shorter one in a reverse grip in her left. Both blades had a dull silver glow to them and a dark blue grip. And the next second Ayaka disappeared in a flash, about to strike Naruto. Naruto smiled slightly, as he sensed Ayaka preparing her attack, so she is making the first move, good. Naruto activated 2 seals on his wrist and 2 short swords appeared in his hands, both made of some sort of dark metal, and had spiked edges in the center of the blade. And not a second later, did Ayaka appeared only feet from Naruto with tremendous speed and lunged with her long sword, while with her shorter one, was going around trying to make contact with his chest. Naruto easily blocked the short sword, with the sword in his right hand, and with the sword in his left hand, parried the lunge made by Ayaka. Looking down on the scene, both Kasumi and Masaki were amazed by the speed that Ayaka possessed, as neither one of them could even see her until she was in front of Naruto. What the hell was that? Masaki wondered. I wonder if she will teach me how to do that. Kasumi wondered, as she always had a thrill whenever she saw some cool ninja move. After her failed attack, Ayaka backstepped away from Naruto, so she was at least 20 feet away from him, while Naruto reversed grip both of his swords. Very good, Ayaka-chan, Naruto said, but next time, don't reveal too much. I'm sorry, sensei, Ayaka thought to herself. However, both Masaki and Kasumi were looking at Naruto like he was crazy. Naruto snickered. I know that you two can hear me, he shouted, which scared both hidden genin, as they thought they hide very well. So I'll tell you how she did that. You see, Ayaka-chan here has a little ability that most would call the Jinten swift release, Naruto said, causing both Masaki and Kasumi to wonder what he was talking about, since neither of them had heard about it. Ayaka looked shocked that Naruto was able to figure what she did out, because not even Danzo or the Hokage knew of that ability. Well, sensei, it is true, you are both very talented and a genius to boot. Naruto smiled at Ayaka. Yes, well, it was obvious at me at least, and the next second Naruto disappeared and appeared right in front of Ayaka. After all, I can do it too. Ayaka didn't know what to think at the moment, as she had never met or heard of anyone but herself to possess this trait. But after hearing that Naruto could do it as well, she became very worried, as her ace was no longer so special. Ayaka immediately disappeared and appeared onto a branch in front of Naruto, and she was thankful that Naruto made no attempt to strike her. "Sensei, if I may," Ayaka asked as she eyed Naruto with admiration in her eyes. "Not at all, Ayaka-chan, ask away," Naruto said, completely relaxed. "Well, you see, no one has been able to know of my Kekkei Genkei, not Danzo or the Hokage himself. However, you, after only seeing it once, knew what it was." Naruto nodded. "Well, you just saw that I can do it myself. But I shall explain how I recognized it. You see, the swift release combines futon, wind, and radiant lightning chakra together to allow the user to move at near instantaneous speeds. Of course, the telltale sign of a user is the distinct change in the air, which is caused by the use of the Jinten swift release. The user is combing radiant lightning chakra into futon, wind chakra, to speed up the wind atoms. Then that same chakra is then transferred into the user as speed. However, someone who has fought or can use the Jinten swift release can tell the difference in the air around them as the Jinten swift release user approaches them, which allowed me to figure out not only what your elements were, but your main focus of attack, as it has become clear that you rely on your speed rather than strength." Ayaka bowed slightly in respect to Naruto. "You are truly an idol to us all, Naruto-sensei, but you have unknowingly just told all of us that you use futon, wind, and radiant lightning-based attacks since you possess the Jinten swift release." Naruto just grinned wider at Ayaka. "Oh, I assure you I can do much more than just Jinten swift release, as it is not a Kekkei Genkei passed down my family." "Then how did you come to possess it?" Ayaka asked. "It does not matter at the moment, as I will not relieve that until necessary. However, I will tell all of you this," Naruto said. "No jutsu, no matter the nature, is out of my reach, as I possess natural affinity to all elements and advanced elements." Ayaka's eyes widened, while both of Kasumi's and Misaki's mouths dropped at hearing this. "Sensei, I don't mean to be rude, but that is impossible," Ayaka said, as even she could not believe that her idol could harness the power of all the elements, not to mention the advanced elements. Naruto just chuckled slightly. "Believe what you will, but right now," and Naruto disappeared and appeared right in front of Masaki, who shrieked in terror at his sudden appearance. "We have an exam." Masaki had not even seen this coming, as she thought that Naruto was going after Ayaka at the time. Oh shit, she thought to herself, as out of pure reaction jumped back away from him. Naruto made no move to attack him, and taking her chance, Masaki did a number of hand signs. "Kaiten Gokaku no Jutsu, Fire-style Great Fireball Jutsu," she yelled, and out of her mouth a giant fireball went straight towards Naruto, who didn't seem the least bit worried about the technique. "Hyoten Hogo Domu no Jutsu, Ice-style Protective Dome Jutsu," Naruto said calmly, and before the giant fireball could make contact with him, a giant dome of pure ice surrounded him, and the fireball disappeared on impact with the dome. Masaki looked horror-struck at seeing her clan's most prized jutsu being blocked so easily by Naruto, but then again, she was more shocked by the ice. Ayaka looked wide-eyed at Naruto. He wasn't lying. "I am sorry I doubted you, sensei," she thought to herself. Kasumi, after seeing Masaki get attacked, and then Naruto blocking her attack, decided now would be a good time for her to strike, and maybe get the bells. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu," Kasumi said, and a second later, 6 Kasumis and the original one charged at Naruto from all angles. Naruto eyed all of the clones carefully, and as each one of them approached he attacked. The one that came from in front, he quickly punched and then ducked, as the one behind him tried to get a hit at him from behind. He then kicked up from behind him, dispelling that clone, and brought that same leg down below him, and with the momentum gathered from bringing his leg down, he dispelled the one from below. The two coming from the sides attacked simultaneously, and Naruto jumped high into the air, as the clones head-butted each other, and brought his right leg down on their heads. The last clone tried to get Naruto from the front, but he easily elbowed that one. So, that was a distraction. Naruto thought to himself, as he noticed Kasumi leave the area, taking a shocked Masaki and Ayaka with her. Kasumi was shocked to say the least, as she never expected this from Naruto. She knew he was strong, probably as strong as their father, but she never expected him to be able to do any jutsu. In a split-second decision, she had decided that there could only be one way to deal with him, and that was if she could get Masaki and Ayaka to work with her to bring him down. So she created those clones, and during their assault, she was able to get both Masaki and Ayaka to follow her deep into the woods so they could come up with something. All three of them traveled about 150 yards from the clearing. "Damn, I hate to say this Kasumi, but your brother is a beast," Masaki said. Kasumi nodded. "I never knew he could do that. Can your other family members do any type of jutsu like him?" Ayaka asked, as she was still very impressed with his use of the swift release and ice release. Kasumi shook her head. "No, my Two-san is able to use radiant lightning and cadent fire, while my Kaos-san can use sweetened water to the degree of the Nindaime Hokage. So how can he do all of those jutsus?" Masaki asked, because she was getting very worried, and she was not worried often. "I don't know," Kasumi said exasperated, "but the only way we can beat him is if we work together, even if one of us won't be able to become a genin." Kasumi then sighed. "I'll take the hit, you two can become genin and figure something out." After hearing this, Ayaka clapped her hands and gasped, causing both other genins to look at her. "Of course," Ayaka said, causing both Masaki and Kasumi to sweat drop, since they were trying to have a dramatic moment, and Ayaka kind of just ruined it. "Of course what?" Masaki asked. Ayaka looked at Masaki with a glint in her eyes. "It's all a trick," she said. "What do you mean by trick?" Kasumi asked. Ayaka's grin just grew bigger. "Naruto-sensei is testing our teamwork like he did our work ethic." At this, Masaki gasped. "I see it now, brilliant." Kasumi looked at the two genin confused. "I'm sorry, but I don't see what you two are getting at." "It's all a game, Kasumi," Masaki explained. "Naruto-sensei tried to separate us by making there only two bells and telling us that only two of us could pass. And by not giving us enough time in the beginning to discuss the situation with each other, we just assumed it was a free-for-all," Ayaka said. "But how do we know it is a trick?" Kasumi asked, as her could have been their wrong speculation and they were supposed to work alone to get the bells. "Remember what Naruto-sensei said yesterday?" Masaki asked. Kasumi thought back to their first meeting at the academy with Naruto. "You three are a squad, a unit. You're like one person, and you never leave yourself behind, don't forget that." "Of course, well now that we know that, what's the plan?" Kasumi said, and the three genin started to converse on a way to get the bells. Naruto had returned to lying back against his tree as he waited for the suspected attack of the three genin. He had already suspected that they had found the meaning of the exam, epically since they were still for so long, so now it was just a matter of time to see what they could come up with. A few seconds later, a kunai came flying out from one of the branches, and almost hit him between the eyes, if he didn't catch it. Another couple of seconds later, more kunai came out from all around him, being fired from all angles. Naruto knew he wouldn't be able to deflect all of them, so he did the next best thing, he jumped out of the way. As all of the kunai impaled the tree he was on, he cursed himself as he noticed the explosive tabs on some of the kunai, and by pushing off the tree, he was able to dodge the explosion that followed after his escape. As he landed at the spot where the tree was, which was now just a blown-up stump, he saw Ayaka charging forward at him at near blinding speeds, with her swords out. Naruto in turn charged at her, and Ayaka tried to get around his right flanks, but his was too fast. He slammed his body into Ayaka, who was sent flying to the tree but she landed on her feet, and sheathed her swords. "Futon Daitapa no Jutsu, wind-style great breakthrough," Ayaka said, and a large gust of wind, easily able to knock him down, came rushing towards him. But before Naruto could do anything, he heard Masaki say from a nearby branch, "Kaden Gokaku no Jutsu, fire-style great fireball jutsu," which was sent flying at the wave of air, and in turn, it turned into a firestorm, directed right at Naruto. Good, Naruto thought to himself, as he prepared to block the attack with another jutsu, but cursed as he realized that Kasumi was coming from behind him with a dozen or so clones. Futon Daitapa no Jutsu, wind-style great breakthrough, Naruto said, and a much larger gust of wind, able to knock over a house, came rushing at the firestorm, sending it right back at Ayaka and Masaki, who were shocked to see it coming at them. Naruto then spun on his heel at blinding speeds, kicking one of the incoming clones in the chests, and then did another couple of hand signs and said, Shikuden Uzumaku Hano no Jutsu, scorch release swirling flame jutsu, and a large vortex or spiraling fire went straight towards all of the clones, dispelling them. Kasumi was able to dodge the sudden firestorm, and immediately went to her teammates, who had assembled across from where Naruto was now standing, ready to make their last move. Shit, I thought that might have worked, Masaki said. Well, Naruto-sensei is obviously a good sensor as he could sense Kasumi, Ayaka said. All three of them got ready to fight Naruto in order to get the bells, but what they didn't expect was for Naruto to start clapping at them. All three of the genins looked at him like he was crazy as he continued clapping. Very good, you three, I guess you figured out the test now. The three of them nodded, which made Naruto chuckle. It's okay, you three pass, and besides the test was over about 15 minutes ago. At this, the three genins sighed in relief hearing they passed, and sat down on the grass in exhaustion, as they had used a lot of chakra in their attack. Naruto then approached the three genin, and knelt down in front of them. Now tell me, what did you three learn? Naruto asked. Naruto-sensei, we learned that teamwork is the fundamental element for a squad and that no matter what we should never separate during a mission, Masaki said. Naruto nodded, exactly, but there is still something else to the test as well. The three genin looked puzzled, which made Naruto chuckle lightly. Now, did you three honestly expect to beat me, a cage-level shinobi? Ayaka shook her head. No, Naruto-sensei, but what? Naruto asked. But we tried anyways, Kasumi said proudly, because we don't back down. Naruto smiled at Kasumi. Right on the money, Kasumi. Now I want all three of you to rest up, because tomorrow we start D-ranked missions. At this, the three genin groaned, since they knew what that meant. Catching a cat, painting fences and doing trivial tasks around the village. Naruto smiled at the three of them. How about we make a deal? This caught the attention of the three genin. You need 100 D-rank missions to do your first C rank, and you need at least one C rank mission to enter the Chunin exams, which are only 6 months away. So if for the next month on the weekdays, you do 5 missions a day, it'll train you for the remaining 5 months. How does that sound? The genin squad grinned at the deal that Naruto was imposing. Sensei, you've got yourself a deal. Later that night at the Namikaze dinner table, Mei, Naruto, Minato and Kushina were enjoying a quiet dinner, without any company or Kasumi. Kasumi had went over to the Uchiha compound for a sleepover with Ayaka, who Naruto had just recently found out, was going to be taking turns staying at either the Namikaze estate with them, or with the Uchihas as she did not have a family to go to. So, Ayaka possessed the Jinten, swift release, Minato said, as he did not know that she did himself. And when Naruto told him, he was quite shocked to say the least. Naruto nodded, yes she does, and she was able with Masaki to create a very powerful Kaiden attack combining a Futon-natured jutsu and a Kaiden-natured jutsu. And the number of clones that Kasumi can make is astounding, as it seemed that each one took almost nothing out of her to make. Kushina nodded at this. Well, we never taught Kasumi any jutsus because she does lack the control. But she does have huge chakra reserves, so the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu, is ideal for her to use. Well, I think we should find out what her natural affinities are, Mei said. After all, I would love to teach her a few of my techniques if she possesses one of my natural affinities. Oh, on another note, Naruto said, was Mei's application to the Anbu accepted? At this, Minato's smile vanished slightly. No, it wasn't. Since she is not native-born to Konoha, the council decides whether she can be part of the corp. And why didn't they accept? Kushina questioned, as she was not happy with this turn of events. Well, the deal was that if Naruto went into the Anbu, they would let Mei in, but I knew you wouldn't like that, Naruto, Minato explained. It all comes back to me, Naruto said sheepishly, and he turned to Mei. I'm sorry. Mei kissed him lightly on the cheek. It's okay, Naruto-kun, so does that mean I'm a Jonin? Minato nodded. Yes, I'm going to put you with Naruto and his squad to make things a little better for you. Mei smiled at her father-in-law. Thank you very much, Minato-kun, and then she turned to Naruto. Naruto-kun, I am a little tired. Do you mind coming to bed with me? At this, Naruto grinned slightly. Sure thing, good night to San, Ka-san, and both he and Mei left the table and headed to their room. Kushina tried to peer through the doorway where the just left and sighed. They grow up so fast.